Hello, welcome to Watan al-Karama News Channel. It is 9 p.m. our time for top stories, and we start with latest developments in the Libyan state. Commander of Special Forces in Benghazi, Colonel Wanis Bouhamada, suffered illness and then he was taken to hospital for treatment. A source said Bouhamada left the hospital after checking his health and received treatment. Bouhamada led the battle against terrorist Daesh group in Bahatni district, and that is considered as one of the most important fighting districts because the terrorist groups took control of strategic and military sites in the region. Spokesman for the Supreme Council of Warishfana tribe said Abdel Majid al-Maghribi said that the terrorist militia launched indiscriminate rockets on areas of Al-Maya and El-Filijat yesterday. Al-Maghribi noted in a statement to Watan al-Karama News Channel that the shelling came late at night, adding that it killed 2 children and wounded 4 people in Warishfana. An armed group kidnapped 12 Tunisians during the past 2 days after the Tunisian authorities told a Libyan militia commander in Tunisia. Tunisian human rights official Mustafa Abdel Kabir said that the abduction of Tunisian spouses took place in Libya, where 5 of them were abducted in the Hashin areas yesterday, while other 7 were kidnapped in Zawiya city. Abdel Kabir noted that the number of abductees may increase and can be up to dozens. The United Nations humanitarian coordinator in Libya, Ali Izzatari, condemned the continuation of the abduction of 2 Libyans who work in the humanitarian field and follow the relief agencies in the south of Libya, despite repeated calls for their immediate and conditional release. Izzatari warned of the impact of threats directed to relief workers on their ability to deliver essential aid to the needy of the south. He also expressed deep concern over reports of poor conditions of detention suffered by the 2 abductees. And still, Libya Parliament member Aysal Arabi and Idris Amran denied in a statement to Watan al-Karama News Channel the reports about the signing of 80 deputies of the council in a proposal of extending the Presidential Council of the new government. There were news spread on social sites and quoted by Abdel Qadir Suleiman as saying that the proposal signed by 80 deputies and was presented to the rest of Parliament members to take their agreements and sign it. Secretary Farid Hammond said the control of part of Libyan coast by terrorist Daesh group represents a direct threat to the security of Europe. Hammond called for the need for a strategy to combat Daesh in Libya, whether a government or national unity is formed or not. Concerning lift of arms embargo on the armed Libyan forces, Hammond said the formation of the unity government will facilitate the lifting of arms embargo that will top the list of priorities. 8 flights reached food and tents to the Yemeni islands of Skrota. Local officials today, after it was hit by a rare cyclone. The United Nations has displayed for thousands people and on the mainland. Cyclone at Chebala killed 3 people when it made landfall on Skrota, on isolated islands closer to the Horn of Africa than to Yemen, that has about 50,000 inhabitants. Another man drowned when the hurricane storm reached mainland Yemen's 5th largest city, Mukalla, on the Gulf of Arab on Tuesday, sending thousands of families in the region scrambling for higher and drier land. The Emirates news agency reported today that 3 Oman planes bearing tents and food and United Arab Emirates cargo plane with 20 tons of food and blankets have arrived on the remote island in the past 24 hours. 18 people were killed in clashes in Turkey's mainly Kurdish southeast region today, a day after the military launched airstrikes there and authorities announced a curfew in 2 provincial districts. The violence came days after the parliamentary elections won by AK party of President Tayyip Erdogan, who today pledged to continue operations against the PKK until every last insurgent is liquidated. The office of the governor of Diyarbakir declared a curfew in 22 villages and 2 provincial financial districts, Hani underlined, saying there would be an operations against PKK militants there. 2 soldiers and 15 Kurdistan Workers' Party PKK militants were killed fighting near a village by the Iraqi border, which the military has targeted with air strikes the day before, the General Staff said on its website. Turkish jets also pounded PKK targets in northern Iraq yesterday for a second day. The AK party won back a parliamentary majority on Sunday in a major victory for Erdogan. Speaking in Ankara, Erdogan used his first major speech since vote to say operations against the Kurdistan Workers' Party PKK would continue until its militants buried their arms. And now we transfer to Afghanistan. 300 people, mostly staff from Medicine Sans Frontières or Doctors Without Borders, but also from other NGOs and health facilities, gather in the center of Geneva to pay tribute to the victims of the U.S. bombing of MSF charity-run hospital in Kunduz, Afghanistan last month, holding stretchers with a target on them and signs with urging that evil war has rules and calling for independent investigation. The hospital was hit by a U.S. airstrike while Afghanistan government forces battled to regain control of Kunduz from Taliban insurgents who had seized the city. The United States says the hospital was hit by mistake but has accepted hospital responsibility and has launched a wider investigation headed by U.S. General and 2 brigadier generals, which is expected later. MSF, which has called for an independent international investigation, said that 30 MSF staff members and 10 patients were confounded in the attack, one of the worst of its kind in the 14-year-long conflict in Afghanistan. French Interim Minister Bernard Cazeneuve said today that French Radio Europe warned that 200 smuggling networks have been dismantled in France in 2015. This figure includes 30 networks in the Calais region, where some 6,000 refugees and economic migrants from countries including Iraq, Sudan and Eritrea are now living in a makeshift camp with limited access to food, water and adequate shelters. The Interim Ministry also released a written statement saying that 8 people were arrested on suspicious of helping migrants across the channel to Britain overnight from Monday to Tuesday. French media said that a young fisherman from the northern town of Dunkirk was among the smugglers. Migrants paid up to 12,000 euros to cross the channel on dignity boats. To poor boats, the statement said. My audience, that is the wrap-up of our top stories for today. For much more, you can check our website, www.watanalkarama.tv. Thanks very much for being with us. My greeting, Rانيا البليدى.